Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. Today I want to go over all of the balance changes to the agents, as well as the smaller stuff that you may have missed under the quality of life section. Some really cool stuff in there, but let's get straight into it. The first thing I wanted to highlight actually was the new game mode Spike Rush. It is a very casual, very quick mode of the game that is basically Valorant on steroids to an extent. It's a best of 7, so it's first to 4, and every 3 rounds you switch sides. But also you start with predetermined guns, so you can't buy or get certain abilities at the start of each round. You are given them, and kind of like a retake server, you have to do your best with them. Every character on the attack has the spike, so anybody is able to plant, but of course, as soon as somebody plants, the other ones can. And not to mention, there are also power-ups across the map, which you can see. Some of these include speed boosts, upgrading the weapon, for example, if you're running sheriffs, you might be able to upgrade to a phantom, getting your ultimate instantly, and a couple of others that I may not have seen just yet. It's kind of like the crazy arcade game mode for Overwatch, so some agents are a lot better than others in that case. It is kind of fun, probably good for a warm-up or just practicing your aim a little bit, but honestly, it's just better to play the normal game. It's a nice addition though, if you want something else to do. It's great if you're waiting for your friends to finish up a match, for example, or you just want to kill a little bit of time. But I haven't seen anybody else really talk about it. We've of course highlighted the new Agent Reyna and the new map Ascent in other videos, so we won't talk about them too much here, but there are a few balance changes to the other agents in the game that are pretty interesting, and Omen especially has got some pretty significant buffs. First of all, his paranoia actually works as intended. Instead of firing it when you press the button, you can now equip it instead of using it as a quick cast, so you can press the button and then fire it out a little bit later on. And it also has better hit detection, improved especially at close range. Here's Miska spamming the paranoia so you can see the effective range of it, but also you can see on the minimap where it should hit too. The dev said change the cast paradigm to reward more proactive use of paranoia over its previous reactive use care. Enemies will receive a warning when the projectile is fired rather than being in the direct path of it. This should make it hit enemies more reliably. But Dark Cover also has some changes, and this is Omen Smoke. You now enter a phaser world when you're trying to place them down. You can see through all of the walls, you can't obviously see enemies and stuff, and you can place the smokes with a lot more control. You can also use primary fire and secondary fire to move the smoke backwards and forwards, and then moving the mouse around to sort of show exactly where you want it to go. You then press the ability key to fire it out. You could also press reload, which toggles between the phased and normal targeting world. The dev said we wanted to provide Omen with a more precise way to place his smokes, especially when verticality is at play. We've provided a toggle back to the old view mode as well to make sure we still support the quick close range smoke playstyle many Omen players have honed. They also said about the control of it in the long run, and for new players we think it's more intuitive for the distance to be controlled by one hand and the mouse by default. Even his small teleport shrouded step got a bit of an upgrade. On the minimap, you can see now where you are going to teleport to, and you'll receive an in-world indicator of where you're targeting when the vision is obstructed. This is really useful for when you wanted to teleport out of your own smoke. Last but not least, the ultimate from the shadows also had a little bit of an upgrade. You can now cancel your teleport whilst you're in shade form by pressing the ability key again. If you do this though, you still lose all of your ult points. The dev said we wanted Omen to attempt plays and create fear for his opponents with his ultimate. Previously, the punishment for using the ult was almost certain death if caught by an enemy, and it pushed the ability into more niche use. Allowing Omen to cancel his ult if he's in danger at the cost of ult points will hopefully open up more possibilities and value, while still pushing him to try and pick the best teleport spots possible. These Omen changes in their own right are really good, but we can talk about the changes to the actual agents and what that'll do for them towards the end of this video. Let's move on to the next agent to talk about Phoenix. The first is his Blaze, which is this firewall, has had its duration increased from 6 seconds to 8. The dev said, we felt like the short wall duration combined with the long cast time and short range was forcing Phoenix players to play a little bit too predictable around his wall. We're bumping this up slightly to give him more time to work with. But there was even some changes to the damage and healing that the Blaze does. It's the same with Hot Hands, that now, instead of these abilities healing and doing damage every 0.25 seconds, they do damage every 0.033 seconds but do a lot less. Basically, it ticks a lot more often. The devs said that these damage over time, healing over time models are updated to match the recent changes to our dot abilities. Additionally, we've matched the damage healing values to be half as effective as Hot Hands, primarily so that the total healing output of these two abilities is at parity. That both Hot Hands and Blaze can heal you for 50 health each. We're also doing this so that Blaze doesn't become the de facto healing ability compared to Hot Hands. Because people could bunny hop over Molotovs and stuff like that, they changed the damage over time to tick more often, so more damage is done. If somebody is quickly in and out of a Molotov, they get hit more frequently, but that doesn't mean that the Blaze or the Hot Hands does more damage, it just does the same damage more frequently. Curveball even got a bit of a change, with the max flash duration being increased from 0.8 seconds to 1.1. It's very hard to tell, but basically the flash lasts a little bit longer. The flash duration is short given how quickly he can get his curveball out on an enemy caught out on positions. Even still, it was a hair too short, especially to justify the new 200 credit price point, which was put up in a previous patch. And a nice quality of life change, Run It Back, his ultimate now automatically reloads all the weapons when you respawn, as I'm showing you on screen. Sage got nerfed, kinda hard to be honest. The healing orb now has a cooldown of 45 seconds instead of 35 seconds. They were happy, the devs said that they were happy with how much the heal can heal, but felt it was up too frequently during a round. The barrier orb also got hit pretty hard. Not only is it 400 credits from a previous patch, but also it only has 800 health now instead of the 1000 it had before, and it lasts 10 seconds shorter, dropping from 40 seconds to 30. The good thing about this though is that the friendly barrier orb now shows up on the minimap. I hope this also shows up for spectators too, as the ability to not see smokes and stuff when you're watching some teams playing a tournament or you're casting them like I have been. Really awkward to try and work out what's going on a lot of the time. The devs said that it's still having too much impact in any given round, and they hope that the war stays a powerful stalling tool, but asks you to think about when in a round that you want to use it. Raze also got a bit of a nerf too. The blast pack maximum damage radius has been decreased from 2 meters to 1. It's proven to be quite strong, the devs say, especially when chained back to back. By reducing the inner maximum damage radius, we help to reduce the average damage output of this ability while still keeping it powerful. The overall damage radius of Raze hasn't changed at all, but the drop off starts a lot closer to the center of the blast pack, meaning that you shouldn't be hit as hard by this ability into the future. And finally, when it comes to agents, Jett also had a couple of really cool buffs. The first is to a cloud burst, increasing the smoke duration from 4 to 7 seconds. Devs say that we feel like Jett has a strong, irreplaceable value in terms of her ability to deny trades, but we think her team-orientated output is a little bit too low. This should give her and her team a little more time to work off of her smokes. And next, an interesting one, Tailwind automatically breaks Cypher's trap wires after being briefly revealed. Tailwind Force is powerful enough that Jett should be easily able to break free of any leash. This should allow her a little bit more freedom to make that aggressive but risky play that creates space for her team. Like I said, we'll talk about these balance changes and how it's meant to fix the game, but I just want to kind of go over everything that's in this patch, including the smaller quality of life stuff that you may not notice. The coolest thing though, I suppose, is Split. Split has actually had a bit of a restructure when it comes to its mid choke point. Instead of having this big brown building on the left hand side from this image, it's actually been completely taken out, meaning that mid is a lot more open, a lot more room to breathe. If you're on the attacking side, you can sort of see towards the rope room, and the defense needs to be careful if they place people there. More often than not, they don't, but that's a nice way to be able to control mid and then go over to the A site, which you don't often see teams doing, really. If they push onto the A site, they're more fully dedicated, pushing down A main on its own. The devs say we feel like defenders were able to effectively plug up the main choke point in mid for a large percentage of the round. These changes open up the space quite a bit and provide an additional path to get around stalling abilities on the stairs. It also gives attackers a few different angles to help siege B towers and vents. And also, the frog now has a little hat.
Nice.
In regards to the other maps though, there have been a few Cypher spy cams fixed. For example, this one that I tried to use on Cypher in Hookah, but I can't do that anymore, which is unfortunate. But there are a few others that you can use if you can spot them out. But they've just made sure that Omens can't teleport out of the map and fixed a few collision things that should make the game feel a lot better. In regards to competitive, it's not out yet and it might not be out for a couple of weeks or even a month or two. Similar to how closed beta launch, our initial focus is to make sure our service is stable before activating competitive matchmaking. This is also a way to give new players the same courtesy the closed beta players had to learn the game ahead of turning on competitive. We'll also make some adjustments to competitive based on remaining closed beta player feedback. Our plan is to turn on competitive a few patches into our launch. There are, of course, going to be a lot of bug fixes and quality of life stuff. Far too many to mention, but one of the main things is the FPS should be a lot better for you. They have touched up a couple of agents, Omen, Sage, and Viper. They have their visual effects optimized, which, for those that don't know, maps like Split, if there was a Viper on there, she'd use an ability, it would tank people's FPS to like 60, 50, or below frames per second. So that should be a lot better. People shouldn't be having frame rate drops half as much as they used to. In terms of quality of life, you can no longer get ult charge if you die to something that isn't an enemy. For example, dying to the spike exploding, falling off a cliff, your teammates killing you, or you killing yourself with your own abilities. It doesn't provide you any ult charge, which I think is fair. There's a few more voice restrictions to those that break the community code. You'll be banned in voice and chat for 72 hours. Riot also said getting a restriction requires you to log out because they want you to take a moment to cool down and reflect before logging back in to play Valorant.
Smiley face.
But these restrictions are only for all in team chat. You can still talk and chat in party chat. That's both for texting and talking. There's also transition screens added to characters and for the maps, but we'll show you those if you haven't seen them right at the end of this video. So if you want to check them out, wait until then. The death camera should no longer obscure your vision when you die. This was something that was brought up in the Peeker's Advantage post that the devs did, where because you die, your corpse gets in the way of your view, so it's very hard to see what killed you, and that's why it kind of feels that people are running and gunning. So it's a subtle thing, but you should notice it if you are paying attention, that you can see a little bit more before you die, which is kind of nice. Also, there are a few observer updates. Basically, it's not completely screwed up, such as Phoenix is showing up when people die, or the scores switching at halftime when the teams don't, so scores are the wrong way around. Super annoying, but there's just a few quality of life stuff. They've also added in some VFX to the kill feed, getting an ace, getting a clutch, for example. The spike is a lot more clear in the inventory, and I think on the minimap too. The armor icons are upgraded, the character portraits are upgraded, and there's a bunch of bug fixes in the game, far too many to mention specifically, but of course you can check out the patch notes if you want to see the other stuff that we haven't mentioned here in the description below. And it's super cool to see that the game is out. It seems to have flown by ever since the Project A was announced, but now we're here and able to play it. Everybody can, of course, so long as it's on PC. It's all pretty good. But let's talk about these agent changes, specifically to Omen. This could make Omen really good. This could make him sort of on tier with Brimstone, most certainly on a lot of different maps or in instances where you don't necessarily want to play a Brimstone. The smokes are a lot stronger, a lot more useful, and a lot easier and safer to get effective use out of them. Paranoia actually now works as intended, so I don't necessarily think that we're going to see like Omen suddenly become an S tier agent, but I can see him contest against Brimstone on certain maps like Haven, which are a bit more spread out, that pro teams don't like to run Brimstone on, if you're sort of looking into that. But he's an option if you want to sort of spice things up, and if you could do a lot of stuff with the agent, which a lot of people can, you'll be able to do quite a lot when competitive comes out. You'll be able to sort of stampede there a little bit more. The Jett change I really like. We sort of spoke about it before, that Jett is starting to have a bit more popularity just across the scene overall. The smoke is a nice change because one of the biggest complaints is that she's very selfish and doesn't really get to do a lot for her team. And yeah, the tailwind change to the Cypher tripwise is more of a quality of life thing, but still rather interesting that Riot have gone in that direction. Sage got nerfed again, probably for the third time in a row or something, but maybe more even needs to be done then, it's hard to say. Raze was a nice change, more quality of life than anything. Phoenix had quite a lot that helped him out, but not too much. And everything else makes Valorant feel like an actual launched game. There isn't anything that feels undertuned other than the spectating, of course, but Riot have been very clear on that, saying that there's still a lot of work to be done there. But everything else, how the game runs, the performance of it, the art, the maps, the agents, it's feeling more like a complete game now. I can't wait to see more content added in. That's always going to be a nice thing to add in for the future. But I'm really happy with the state of the game, how it's gone into launch pretty seamlessly, and everybody's super hyped to play it. So that's everything that I wanted to go over today. Do check out the Reyna video if you haven't already, alongside Ascent, as well as the Battle Pass if you haven't checked it out in-game for whatever reason. If there's any particular content that you'd like to see from us, as opposed to guides and stuff like that over the next couple of weeks, do let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And like I said midway in this video, here are all of the animations for each of the agents, as well as the maps too, as they have nice load-in screens too. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you then.